This one is gonna be so cute. I'm really excited to do this fishing scene. I want the background to be kind of like a shallow depth of field, and the only thing that is focused would be this little girl and her dad or grandpa or whoever you want him to be, and the grass. The rest is gonna be really blurry. So the way that we do that is we're gonna wet down everything except for what we want to be clear. So to do that, quickly, I'm gonna use our biggest brush, which is size 12. This is from my Country Life Watercoloring Book. I take you through all my outlines step by step, and you can do the book by itself or as a bundle with brushes, my favorite palette, and it comes in a cute little carry-all bag. So yeah, let's get going with watering this down. Just kind of like dropping water on here so that we could spread it around. I don't care if this gets wet because the fishing pole will probably end up being black anyways. So we'll just paint right over it. But with the people, I don't know exactly the clothing. It's just easier to leave it white. I'm using the tip of my brush to get in here, but also being very careful not to get in the skin and clothes. This water, as we get closer, will become more detailed, but it's still gonna be loose. Water is gonna be loose, so we're filling it with water anyways. Almost done here. We do need to move quickly because we want to be able to put paint on the page before the page dries, to get the wet on wet technique. Just adding more water in the areas that I'm seeing is close to drying already. Spreading any puddles around, we want it to be an even. Okay, here we go. So up here is the sky. So I'm just gonna grab this light blue and drop it in, bringing it across. Because it's so watery, it dilutes it down quite a bit. And I'm actually really happy about that. I don't want it to be overly vibrant. Spreading that across. And as we start getting lower, this is just a bunch of big trees. And the way that we are going to do that is grab our greens. You can have some more vibrant, you can have a more dulled down. With your greens, you're gonna add your complementary color, which is either red if you're wanting the warmer version, or purple to your greens if you're wanting it a cooler green. So we kind of mix these together as we're working, maybe some yellows too. And you're just going to be dabbing. And you see how the water kind of takes it and does what it wants? Kind of making different sections with color while still moving quickly. If you notice your page drying, you can wet it down some more with water. and then keep dabbing those colors in. And this can be our base layer too. If you're not in love with this, we can come back and add a little bit more dimension. I think this is gonna be like our medium shade. And then I do want to come in with some darker greens mixed in here. Okay. And then this here, I'm gonna add purple to it to neutralize it. But I do want it to be like a lighter tone for this grass down here. Careful around his shirt. Okay, and this is puddling more than I want. So before we move on to the river, I want to pull that puddle out or blend it, just kind of bring it over to where it's not all falling in one spot. Pulling some of that off. Grabbing the light blue, a little bit of this darker medium blue. And it's pretty diluted, but we are just plopping it here on the river. And it's okay that the green is on there because it actually, we're going to add green anyways as a shadow of the trees, or a reflection, I mean. So something with rivers though is we want to work horizontally. So you can go down this way, like to get the detail of the side, and then pull it horizontal. Okay, so this is puddling more. I'm pulling it off, dabbing it. Are you getting the picture? I think it's starting to come together and it looks super cute. Just adding a little bit more blue to this top section. Working horizontally. Okay, and then we're going to grab, I'm adding a little bit of this turquoise in there. And then right here around where they're at is going to be a reflection of the trees. So I'm adding green in. And now this is where you can dry your brush off a little bit and take some control back in the areas that you want to. So I don't necessarily want the river to be bleeding up or down. I want the strokes to be horizontal. So I'm just pulling any area that it looks like it's bleeding down. Adding some like lighter areas. And then we can add a darker blue. Maybe even add in a little bit of this brown. The fourth down. And adding in some little sections up here towards the top. A little bit here. And then where this Little girl is standing. And as you can see the difference, this has dried and this is still wet, which is okay because we have more control right here, and that's kind of what we want since it's closer. So I'm kind of putting in some sections of the darker color, and I'm going to clean my brush off and then pull those colors just with my wet brush and blend them together. Giving the loose but also more controlled water feel. Okay, so now that up here it's still wet. It's definitely still wet, but it's not as much, so you're gonna have a little bit more control. We're gonna add in just a little bit darker of a green to add some shadows to this tree bank. So I'm grabbing our green. I can even grab this one up here too. And you can do red until it's a tone that you like. And you're still, like, see how it's still not dry, so it's still loose, but you have some control of where things are going now. I'm leaving some of that lighter color showing through, but definitely just dabbing, coming through over here. And I want to make sure that it's not this stark line because it's still loose. So I'm grabbing my brush and pulling that into each other. Okay, while it's still wet, I'm going to grab my brush and pull that down so there's more of a loose feel. Can come up here. I want it to show some form of trees, but not over the top. And then this is where, if you wanted to add some of this color up here, you could bring some in. Maybe bring some down here. And if you don't love how this has bled into the sky more than you would want, you could come back with your blue. Make sure your brush is clean so it doesn't show up green. But you could come in and just do another layer of blue to help with that separation. It's not going to get rid of it, but it might help with the... Okay, I think that looks super cute. And now we can move on to just adding a little bit more green there. We could do his body since, well, the water is still pretty wet. So what we're gonna do is make sure that to pick up any of the puddles so that it can dry faster. And we're gonna work on her pants because this area dried a lot faster. If your water right here is still wet, then just pause. Don't do anything, and we can come back once yours is dry. So you just pause it. I think I'm gonna do this gray since we already have it. I'm gonna mix in more blue and some black. Pulling any excess color that we don't want so that it could dry flat. This is so cute. I mean, I'm not super into fishing, but my dad really loves to fish. And we would go up to, I was born in Alaska, and so we would fish on the Kenai River every time we'd go up there. And this has reminded me of that because we would sit on a bank. I mean, sometimes we would go out with my grandma and be like with the big fishing nets, but I like am thinking of a specific picture. I was older than this, but of all my siblings and my dad, we were just sitting on the bank like this. So it's fun to be able to paint something similar. Makes me want to make these memories with my kids. Okay, so now that I'm checking, we could do her shirt, and I kind of want it to be pink. I'm gonna put it right here. Add it to that gray so where it's more of like a neutral pink. I think that'd be really cute. Okay. I think I'm just gonna do her sleeves and then bring like a collar across almost. And then do some fun stripes. Using the very, very tip of my brush. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's actually better if your lines are not perfect. And then I'm gonna add blue to this to make a purple. And that can be her hat. Add some of this purple. Kind of overdid it with the blue. There we go. Make sure it's dry. I think painting clothes is so fun. There we go. Cute. Okay, while we let that dry, I'm hoping the water near him is, yeah. So let's do his shirt. You're doing this with me for the first time, okay? So we can figure out colors together. I think to tie the black in, it would be fun, or we could do black for his hat. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. What should I have done? What do you think? Did you guess what I wanted to do? Let's see. Let's do gray. That's a safe bet. Like a white shirt, a light gray. Yeah, I like that. I think that's cute. We're gonna let that dry and then we'll come in with some contrast or some shadows in his shirt. And then for his pants, I think we're gonna do like a jean. So I'm gonna grab some gray, add it to this purple, and then add some of this lighter blue. And a little bit more gray. Okay, I think that's good. kind of being careful with the grass, but not overly because we're just going to paint over it. But this is a slightly darker color, so it might not show the grass as well, so just be careful not to go too far in. I think I want it darker. Blends in with the water too much. Okay, I went a little over the line on this. I'm just gonna smooth it out because I can't really pull that up as much as I'd like because it's so dark. So just make some edits. There we go. And if this is dry, we can work on his hat. Let's do a black for his hat. I'm gonna mix it with that gray. Just trying to pull any water out so that it dries flat. There we go. And this is our base color. We can come back in and darken it. But I really like this so far. As you can see, I'm trying not to get that band. Okay, we'll let that dry for a minute and then we'll come back. I think this shirt should be more dry now. And we could probably just pull this and just use a diluted version, which is by adding water. You're gonna bring in these little creases. I'm gonna add some shadow here around the belt line. Maybe like a little bit here on his back, connecting there, and on the sleeve and under the collar. Okay, so before it dries, I'm dabbing the water off on my paper towel, and I'm going to use the tip of my brush to pull any of the contrast that we don't want to see, just so that it's more gradual. Just like that. That will give you a smooth shading. I think that looks really cute. Really good. And we can use this darker gray black that we used on the hat for his belt. I don't love that it blended into the shirt. I should have waited for that. I'm gonna pull that off as much as I can with my brush. Make sure to use a dry brush to do this. There we go. All right, can come back up and do this band. I'm doing it lighter. And right here is lighter, up here. And then if you wanted to add like some shadows here, same thing, dry your brush off, get the water off, and use the tip of your brush, just barely touching it to pull that over. Awesome. We could do her hair, or both of their hair. I'm gonna grab brown, I think would be cute. Fourth one down, it has more of a red tone to it. And we're going to grab blue to cool it down a little. You could even grab the complementary to red would be green. And that would neutralize it. You don't want to overdo it with the green because then her hair is going to look green. But I think this is a really great color. So in recap, I grabbed this fourth one down with a little bit of green and a little bit of blue. And I'm using the tip of my brush and that is so cute. All right, and we could add some, like a little bit of black to make his hair darker, but like similar to hers. And just using the tip of the brush, making those hair motions, strokes down. Can leave some white space, just like that. Cute. Okay, while we have this blue, I'm gonna make sure it's diluted down a good amount. And I think we need to add a little bit of green to it. Because I forgot this section here and right here. There we go. And we're gonna do the grass now, and then we'll come back and do their skin, and then we will be done. Oh no, we won't. Jokes. We're gonna do this at the end. So we're gonna do grass, skin, and then their fishing poles. So you can pick the green you want. We have a good green mixed here with this olive. I'm gonna add some red to this. We're gonna do the light green first. Just doing like little swoop motions with light pressure. You can leave your wrist a little higher to help with the looseness. Okay, so as it goes down, I'm just gonna kind of fill that in, and then we can add more strokes in once that's dry. But I think that's really awesome. I think we're gonna bring this green out a tiny bit more than the outline shows. There we go. Cute. So to make skin color, I'm going to lift this blue up because we don't need it anymore. And we are going to grab some salmon. And I'm gonna mix whatever that little bit left of blue. It doesn't matter because you could have added blue to cool this down. But we have a good base. And then you could add some, like a little bit of red or orange if you're wanting a more of a orange skin tone. You could add a little bit of blue to cool it down. Green also would do that. I actually think that's a really pretty skin tone we could do for the little girl. Adding a little bit of blue. Dabbed some of that off because I could tell that my brush was really full and I want control right here. Hold right here in his hand, so I'm gonna pull that up. So cute! I love it. Okay, so for this, it's a little bit more dry now, so we can come back in with this darker green and do the same thing and add just a few more little grass. Just bringing it in, and that will just give it a little bit more detail. There we go. Okay, last thing. We're gonna do his pole, and I'm just gonna grab straight from the black and make sure that there's not a whole lot of water. And you can do hers first since it's smaller to make sure that you have more control. And just very tip of your brush, pulling that up. There we go. Now I do his. There we go. Okay, I'm not even going to try and do the wire. If you like this that you see in mine, just with the outline that I already have, you can do that. If you want to add a pen, let me grab a pen. This will give you more control, and you could just do the pen here. And it's okay if the pen doesn't like put ink on the whole thing. It just shows you where it's going. Right? There you go. Okay, I hope you love it and you're proud of yourself. I want to hear about it. How'd it go for you? And I will see you next time for these cute country boots.